welcome. Wonderful. So we're pleased to welcome Arturo to talk to us about on our monthly product SIG, a product and AI SIG. Today's conversation is about building in the age of the AI noise, and I'm looking forward to it because there is a lot of noise. I'm not even sure where to start anymore. Everyone's just, we're stuck at ChatGPT and a couple things, but I'm sure there's a whole lot more. So Agile Austin, we love Agile and we love to kind of share Agile and champion Agile. It is a nonprofit organization. It's been around, I don't know, at least 16, no, 20 something years as far as I know, but probably longer than that. I know Scott started it, right? It's
Yep.
probably been around longer. So, and it has been served wonderfully over the years. And we continue to have amazing people that volunteer with the organization. Here's the board. They continue to like work tirelessly to make sure that the Agile mojo sticks around, and then Austin continues to be popular with Agile. In fact, one of the things we've seen in a lot of our sessions is we'll have attendees from all over the world and not just Austin. And Matt is actually moved to Seattle a few years ago, but he continues to support the organization. So it's awesome. Once you form some roots with Agile Austin, you tend to stick around. Um, all right, so that's our board. If you all need any specific, if you want to join the board, if you're interested in anything like that in the future years, please do reach out. I'm going to hand over to Max for a second here. There is a upcoming opportunity to listen about Agile intelligence, and he can provide a bit more detail.
Thank you, folks. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I put a link in the chat also to where on our site you can get more of the information on this. But this is exciting because as an agile organization, we're always trying new things. We're experimenting. We're bringing things to our community. And something that has really been ramping up is Gen AI specifically. And we would like to offer an in-person, I'm sorry for the virtual folks and the folks that are not in Austin, an in-person hands-on AI training workshop. Like you're actually going to build stuff. It's 4 hours long. We offer lunch, snacks, and all the fun stuff. And so we have to charge a small fee for it. But we feel that David, who spoke at our conference in April, who teaches at our UT campus in Austin, University of Austin, is a great person for this. He's done it before on campus and he's going to bring it to our community. So just we are starting to raise the visibility for this, which will be on September 20th. If you want more info, go to the link that I dropped there. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have fun.
All righty. Okay. Thank you. I was going to share the screen while I was waiting, but I think it's fine. Hopefully, folks can kind of take a look and purchase tickets. Is there a limit on the number of people that are going to be allowed?
Great question, Vishal. We are aiming for 20 people about. We have about 7 people that already have signed up for it. So no rush or pressure, but we can't have a class of 50 people, right?
All right. Sounds great. No, thank you. So a little bit more about Agile Austin. We do depend on sponsorships. So if you are interested in, or if your organization might be interested in becoming a sponsor, we have multiple levels that we offer, and any kind of support, help, sponsorship, even if it's with location, all of that is welcome. That's how the community gets to grow and spread and scale. As far as membership, it's actually pretty nominal. It's $35 a year, and you have access to a lot of great content, including our Slack channel and a bunch of discounts as well. Um, and we do have 6 different SIGs as of now. There are the special interest groups. You are in one of these, the product and AI, but there's others as well. If you're interested, please do follow the link up there, meetup.com, Agile Austin. And we have a huge number of members, which is awesome. Um, and again, the sponsors, we present or we talk about them every time, and we thank them. Multiple levels, like I mentioned. Um, and this, without the sponsors, obviously this would have been very, very challenging at a $35 annual fee. So thank you to all of those folks that continue to support the organization. Um, and also, there's anyone that is interested in, we do have a scholarship, and it varies, like how you get what in terms of what, it could be a certificate, it could be some sort of course or a book, but applications can be submitted online on the website. Um, and I'll go ahead and once Arturo starts, I'll go ahead and include the link on the chat window. Again, these are some of our sponsors that provide some of this, so thanks to them. And oops, sorry, looks like I clicked the link. My bad. I need to go back to the slideshow. Come on. Sorry. A little bit of
Michelle, I can do it if you want to
there
keep
we go.
going.
Got it.
Okay.
I kept clicking the link. Oh, what's going on? Sorry. That is odd. Okay, I'll just finish the slide here. Actually, almost done. Sorry about that. Again, you can use the QR code here for Agile Austin. If you want to attend any workshops, get discounts. If you would like to volunteer, we have opportunities as well with Agile Austin. And Matt and I have been doing this for some time. We've been involved. I've been a little bit actually off and on. Matt, I know, has left his mark with the organization, continue to help and support. So thank you, Matt, for many, many, many years of committed service to the organization. And with that, a couple quick things. We do have, because it's the summertime, things are a little bit slow in terms of attendance sometimes. So we're going to do something different on August 29th, retrospective and lightning. So we want this to be extremely interactive. The idea would be to kind of think about how do we improve or change what we do today in the SIG, and also have lightning topics where someone can be like, hey, here's my question, here's what I struggle with, here's what I've learned. And we want that to be a broad discussion. It should actually be one of the most fun topics if you can make it. A couple quick things. We're also looking for a September speaker. We do have a speaker for October. Tom Evans is going to be talking about jobs to be done and AI. And then September, and just note the date that we've kind of moved this up to avoid the Halloween holidays. But if any one of you is interested in presenting or discussing, or even if you have a very open-ended topic you'd like to kind of discuss, that'd be great. Please bring it to the lightning round as well. And with that, we're going to jump into the main topic of the day today, building in the age of AI noise. Arturo, like I mentioned, I kind of met him at one of the PCA events. It was very well run, very organized, and it was amazing to see like 300 plus product managers in the room talking about challenges with product development and product management. So I know there's a nice community over here, and thanks to Arturo as well and the team there for continuing to kind of provide that platform and forum. With that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to let Arturo take over the conversation. Anyone have any quick comments or thoughts or questions before we jump in? Okay, alrighty then. Arturo, over to you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen here so we have something better to look at. It's awesome being here. Really appreciate the opportunity. And Michelle, thank you for the kind words, about ProductCamp Boston. Very similar to this group. We've been around forever. It's a nonprofit. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the little details. The only thing I'll plug in today is that our next event is going to be announced very, very soon. So you guys are actually the first to hear that it's going to happen on September 27th, I think is the date, over at the UT campus. So more to come on that. If you're not familiar, productcampaustin.org is where you want to go. And some cool things, some cool events in the pipeline. But moving on to what we're here for today, building in the age of AI. When I was thinking about the topic, is like AI is so loud, right? Like AI is everywhere. It's all we hear about. We probably hear about it at work, at home, on Twitter for sure, or X, whatever you want to call it. So I figured it would be fun to do like a what to ignore, what to lean into, how to stay grounded. Um, and I'll kind of preface with saying this is sort of my point of view, right? My opinion. And if possible, would love for this to be a conversation. I'm going to throw some things in there that maybe you disagree with, maybe some things that you agree with. So if you guys want to chime in, let's do it. You guys are all awesome. You guys are all super experienced. We all have valuable different experiences. So I think this would be a really fun conversation to have together. And as Matt mentioned, if you're currently muted, just raise your hand. Somebody will get you unmuted, and let's make it kind of interactive if we can. But let's start with the noise, which is probably what we're like most familiar with, right? What everything around us is just so much going on, and it's what is it like? What's going on? What is the noise? What is not noise? So I'm going to throw some things out here, right? Like first thing I found actually this morning when I was updating this, it was in Q1 of 2025, 66.6 billion went into AI funding. So it's pretty damn loud. I think that's a pretty massive number. It's an increase compared to other years, even just from a funding standpoint, not just in AI. It's a massive, massive number, right? Also wanted to bring in this visualization. Maybe some of you guys have seen it before. To think we're somewhere around here. I don't know if you guys can see that on the screen on the mouse, but the peak of inflated expectations. Maybe we were here a little bit 6 months ago. Would love to hear some opinions on where we are on this graph, where we hear about it all the time. It's going to take all of our jobs. Everybody's getting replaced. We're going to have universal income. We've kind of heard it all, seen it all. That was probably like somewhere over here. If some of you are doing any vibe coding like I am, I'm like vibe coding every single day. I'm definitely somewhere like in a sadder point of my AI interaction. But I'm starting to realize how to be better with this. So I'm coming back up into like slope of enlightenment and plateau of productivity where I'm now, much better than I've ever been in my life when it comes to like AI and efficiency and whatnot. Um, but there's still a lot more. I'll show you guys a couple more things. I found a study that basically said 35% of people think that AI is good, that it's actually going to be pretty cool for us. It's going to be a lot of efficiency gain. 31% were like, I don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion. And then 34% are like, this is the worst thing, right? Like this is the devil. It's going to ruin the planet. It's going to take over, whatever. So we're kind of divided, I think, as a community, as an environment, just as people, on whether this whole thing is good, bad, or just kind of somewhere in the middle. A lot of noise is my point there. Some like true facts, some like things that have happened recently. A McDonald's AI chatbot error exposed 64 million job applicants' information. That's noisy, right? And maybe that kind of lines into some like bad behaviors or like bad outcomes. Um, Elon Musk supposedly said this wonderful line that we're summoning demons, right? Some people think that OpenAI is going to do AGI. This is from like January of this year. They thought they were going to announce it, a couple weeks after that. Obviously, they haven't. And then The Verge also had this beautiful article that I found that was titled, "All this bad AI is wrecking a whole generation of gadgets." So that's a lot. That's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of good, evil, a lot of dollars, a lot of personal emotions and experiences, right? So it is noisy. We're definitely in the midst of it. So um, before I continue babbling on, moving on to the next slide, do you want to at least give you guys a couple of seconds to chime in if you guys have any personal experiences of the good, the bad, the noise, the craziness? Anybody in the crowd have something to chime in on?
Yeah. Hey, it's Max. I'll just say, can you hear me or I'm shut down by people? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'll just say as simple as my Google searches. In the past, I'd have to go through these links and click on links and everything. That AI summary at the top of my Google searches is so cool. It is awesome. So that's just one minor, but really positive experience to me of an AI. Just that.
100%. Yeah. I'll give you a very fresh one and sort of like minute, right? But yesterday I walk out into my backyard and I see a spider about this big. It was huge, yellow and black. My first gut reaction is like maybe dangerous. I have two little dogs. It's right next to my grill, and I had to grill some chicken. So the first thing I did was take a picture of it, upload it to ChatGPT, and I said, "What is it? Is it dangerous? We don't need to be worried about." No, it's a native Texas species. It actually is good for the bugs. Like it gets rid of all the things that I don't want in my backyard. It's a female. She's usually sleeping half the time, and don't even worry about it. If you want to remove it, here's some safe tips on how to get rid of it. Right? Super awesome. Instead of I don't know, maybe getting a shoe and like trying to smack it when I actually didn't have to. Right? So that was a cool little moment where in
Bingo.
3 seconds I found the answer that I needed from an image, not even research. Like yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Can I
But
can I share just
yeah,
one thing of like kind of a really interesting use case that occurred to me over the past couple of months was, we're starting to use like these meetings, like it's becoming the default, and I work at a rather large software company. It's becoming the default to keep meetings on recording and then use transcripts and then use that like as opposed to like somebody taking notes and then trading like the note-taking
Yes.
responsibility. But that's sort of like becoming, and then we're using that and checking up on some of the ideas we had and all these kinds of things. But even beyond that, it's become so normalized, and like it's good. People are saying, "Do you mind if I just turn on the recording or transcription?" Because there's people who process natural language. Like some people talk fast, some people talk slow. There's always like some people are like they like lots of information. Sometimes they want slow, very simple information, and maybe not simple, but not a lot of words. Like I tend to use a lot of extra words. And people asked, like, can we turn it on? And then like even people on my team will then succinctly state back what I stated back to them. So it's kind of like when you see that with, even older people or people that don't speak English as a first language, it's kind of one of the really nice things that is just starting to become part of my daily life in since I do a lot of communicating. I find it really helpful.
100%. I would consider myself a power user. I don't know if you guys have seen maybe some pendants and stuff that are more for the physical world, right? Instead of the online world. And a good example on that one, I had it at a happy hour once. It was like a networking thing, a bunch of people, maybe 30 people. I talked to just about everybody. I had 2 drinks, so I wasn't in the clearest state of mind. And then this one great connection I had, he said, "Hey, I got to introduce you to this one guy." We talked for like 15 minutes about other things and work related, not work related. The next day, I remembered, okay, yeah, that one guy wanted me to talk to this other guy, but I cannot remember all the little details because I had 35 new names. Like I knew it happened, right? It was only 2 drinks. It wasn't that bad. And with this tool, I just asked it, "Hey, yesterday, I knew it was about 5:30. I talked to somebody about getting an introduction in 2 seconds," right? It was like, "Yes, that was Mark." And Mark said that you need to talk to Jeff over at company X. And yeah, you should reach out. So it was like one of those like tiny little moments that are great for me, networking and then for my profession and just like being better at like just human stuff, right? Follow-ups, connections. So that was a cool little moment too. But let's get us back into the noise, but also bring in a bit of a signal, right? Um, this whole presentation is kind of focused on signal versus noise. Like what is sort of good things about AI? How can we use it? What is more hype and more noise and like kind of irrelevant, right? So, given that this is agile, I think maybe a lot of us are familiar, with the Eisenhower matrix for like prioritization. So, I figured let's just adapt that into the AI hype, whether it's a signal, whether it's noise, just to kind of conceptualize it, right? Like we saw that last slide, it was a lot, but I figured this would be like a good exercise to figure out, how to make sense of it all, how to make sense of everything that's going on around us. This is actually like I hadn't thought about it this way until this presentation, so it's kind of new format for me to think about. But the concept, I think we're probably familiar with, just as product people, agile people, tech people, in different forms, right? So the whole idea here is that we have business value, right, from high to low, from low to high, and then AI hype from low to high. When things are low business value and high hype, doesn't sound too good, right? Like that's not the best combo. So I decided to explain that or describe that as like chasing hype. Like you're just going after it because it's loud, right? Just because everybody else is doing it. I want this, but really it's not that valuable for me as a person, for my business, etc. Um, on the other hand, if it's like super loud, but you find a way to like really make use of it and create a lot of value, whatever that means, we can get into some more details here in just a second. But if it's a lot, it's very loud, but it also helps you. Like that's actually a pretty good area to be in. When I think about this from like my product management days, leading companies, this would be what was like a big project for me, right? Like something that took a lot of effort, but was really valuable for my team or the company. That would be something that we planned as part of like a big project, and that's like something that we wanted on our roadmap for the future. Not today because it took a lot of resources, a lot of planning. So this is kind of like the equivalent to me when it comes to this whole AI hype and business value relationship. um, right here in the corner, low value, low hype. Like there's not really any good in this little area. I'm talking about like underwhelming features, or things that really like aren't worth really exploring. And then last, we have like signal wins. And we'll dig into signals here in just a bit more, but essentially, you find something that is maybe not just the hype or maybe the most technically advanced, right? Or maybe the most novel, but it is in the AI ecosystem, but it creates a lot of value for you. I think a good example is maybe the complexity of using AI for something that is business value related. And you can change the business value for something that might be relevant for you, just as long as it has a higher impact, right? And in the Eisenhower matrix, this would be like low effort, high value. What is something that we can do quickly and very simply that is going to have an outsized return in that investment, right? That time or that effort. So this is just kind of help me like think about it a little bit differently, like when I'm getting bombarded on Twitter, with everything that everybody's doing and saying. Um, and I'm a very visual person. So like if there's an idea or a concept, a tool, whatever, if I can very quickly, just with like a gut reaction, throw it on here, that helps me start sort of conceptualizing um, whether this is like hype, is worth my time, is it noise, is it signal? Does that make sense? I know this is a bit more tactical and we can get back into like maybe presentation or conversation, but does this make sense for everybody here? Do you disagree or do you agree with the idea of this way of viewing signal versus noise in the AI world?
So, hey, this is Vishal. So what is hyped value? I mean, if it's high business value and it's something people want, is it just hype at that point? I mean, if it's high value, then it's sort of something that's valuable. So then why would it be hype? What would be an example potentially? I don't know. I'm thinking what would be a good example of that?
Let's see. I do have some like fictional examples down the road, but let me see if I can just come up with a different one now. Um, I can't on the spot. I'm freezing, but I do
No, that's
have
a,
a fictional slide here in just a bit. So I guess hype can be like different things, right? Like actually, in my last two events, people have asked, like the audience have asked, is it overhyped or underhyped? And the room have actually been pretty divided, but there's always been one or two people that is like just accurately hyped. So hype maybe is like too general of a word. Maybe like impactful, right? Could be something, or maybe like I might even switch that to like complexity too, like maybe adaptability. Like there's a couple different ways to like how adaptable is this? Like, can I use this AI very easily? Um, thinking about like the Eisenhower matrix and like effort, right? If it's like high effort, it would be at the top.
right. Because I'm thinking like, if I take AI through its spaces as we kind of all talk about, right? And we talk about reaching a certain point where you might have someone working around your house. So is that valuable? Yes, it'd be great if there was someone who can do the laundry, but at the same time, and then do it effectively. Would that even be hype at that point? Or was it just valuable? So, for example, another example I can think of is FSD. So back when, 6 years ago when they first talked about it and I bought it stupidly, um, it was hype. And over time, though, now I see that it's almost there. The holy grail that they talked about. Now I find it as valuable and less hype because it's real.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's a perfect example, right? When you first got it, maybe it was a bit too expensive and it wasn't that good. So
Yeah.
kind of chasing hype a bit, right?
Yeah.
It was still pretty awesome. Like for the first time you see a Tesla turn the wheel and take you somewhere, it's magical. Um, but maybe it was a little annoying because you had to jump in a bunch of times. But now, it's a lot cheaper. You have some limited functionality without even paying with FSD with full self-driving, but it is so much better. So like that's just a signal for like a perfect use case or like a really great use case to like double down and continue pushing for it. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's a great example to kind of see how things can progress over time, and maybe even in relation to their how long they've been around, right? Like how long the technology or the maturity of the AI has been around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When I
I
hear
think
hype, sorry, go ahead.
good. No, please.
Oh,
James.
I was just thinking, if it has high business value, whether or not it's hyped is going to influence how much competition you have chasing the same idea, and it's going to influence how easy it is to get funding. In terms of being able to do the engineering thing that you're trying to do, that has nothing to do with the hype. It can, that's just the physics of what you can get the thing, the science of what you can get it to do. But it does affect the landscape, the competitive landscape in which you're in, and the funding landscape, where we all know that a lot of the stuff that has low business value and a lot of hype is really just snake oil salesman. And we saw it in the Agile movement too, right? I mean, same game.
So
Yeah,
yeah, one small thought I had was instead of on the left and the right, instead of the hype and the business value, you could literally just say noise and signal, and that might be
exactly.
cleaner.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's actually a perfect segue, right? Because I have this fun little visual on the next one where it kind of maybe even falls. Now that I didn't think about it this way when I made this, but with hearing you guys kind of throw some comments out and the hype and maybe different definitions and different ways to think about it, there's one in here, I think it might be my second one, where it kind of maybe it's a different way to think about it too, right? So thinking about that last slide we just had, and then putting into this whole like, do we ignore it? And like, how does that fit on there? And then do we lean into it, which will be the next slide? And how does that fit into that graph? So as we go through this, let's together think about like where we would throw some of these things on there, right? So James, you said it pretty well, right? Like buzzwords and like doing it just to do it. I think every movement has gone through that: agile, blockchain, AI, cloud, mobile. Every time those words came out as buzzwords, I'm sure we're all guilty of it. We all try to add it into our pitch, into our product, into whatever, into our business, because it was hot, because it is hot. But if we don't define the real value of it, right? Then like, why do it? James, to your point, to me, that's like one of those noise things, right? And James, I think I saw you moving, but
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, and I think this is nothing new. I said, ray guns, whatever they were pitching 100 years ago. I'm sure a lot of this was, crazy stuff, and then whatever actually had value stayed around.
Exactly. What doubling down on that though, or expanding on that, is adding it to add it because of the hype, without actually understanding the value that it creates for you, your customer, your business, etc. Right? Here's a different example. Can anybody connect the dots on like, who that is? So like not as an individual, like a specific name, but it's like, think about a corporate business. This comes from the top down, right? We need AI because this is how we're gonna like finally, be profitable or beat our competitors. We need agile, Matt in the chat, et cetera, et cetera. So that could be very hype. It's coming from the top, came from the board, definitely on Twitter. but just a statement of needing AI, that's a good thing maybe to ignore if we don't again have kind of like that value. Max in the chat, this has so many negative consequences. I mean, I know we all have PTSD from getting this from above and trying to figure out a way to say no, and maybe just saying yes because it is hard to say no to your boss, and spending who knows how long doing all this, right?
But
I mean,
it
I think
does
that's
have
the
value.
general
So, yeah.
the general problem of starting out. It's kind of like, I mean, how many times do I say this now? Like, what problem are you trying to solve? Like that really is like, and we say this in, lots of product stuff, like fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And, there's so many things that's just like keeps reminding people, like, we all want the silver bullet. There's another one. We all want the silver bullet that's going to solve all our problems. But if you can actually articulate what problem you're trying to solve, and like, because person might say, depending on who that is, and I've heard of some of these things, I might offer certain things. Oh, you're in customer support. Like, tell me about some of the most challenging problems you have. And they say like overwhelmed by tickets, all these kinds of things. And it's like trying to sort through all these things. And I'm like, oh, then you want AI to help you because you don't want a human to do all that, right? And like, yeah, that is just brutal work. I'm like, yeah, you can call it AI, but really it's just another word for automation. Like, we want to automate these kinds of things as opposed to having humans do it. That's usually my turnaround on, we need solution X, whatever it may be, being that I'm mostly in engineering, but play product on occasional weekends, nights, and in the middle of the day when I need to. It's a lot of times it's just like, what problem are you trying to solve, and how do you know what good looks like? And then all of a sudden you can sort of move away from, we need AI.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think you mentioned that, but the jobs to be done conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, jobs be done.
That's actually going to be interesting because there's actually now AI tools that will spit out what the jobs to be done story should be. And I'm like, that seems backwards. If AI is going to tell you what the story are, when are you asking the customer or the user? Anyway, sidetrack. But that's kind of I mean, AI can't apply to everything. I think what's happening now from a hype cycle perspective, the noise is people are trying to apply AI everywhere. And if you're going to ask
100%.
AI what the problems are, it's garbage in, garbage out because it has a limited knowledge set.
100%. I'm actually going to spend on that a bit too. A quick one here. Was trying to struggle to visualize this. I'm a very visual person and like to talk on top of the visuals, but basically, like applying AI to apply, but not really just like any other product thing, right? Like you guys are all been doing this for a bit, but what are we trying to improve, right? We can get into KPIs or metrics, like whatever you want to call them, but like, okay, you applied it. How do we measure that this was worth it, that it's better, et cetera, et cetera? So the point here is, if you don't have that, if you don't know what that success looks like, I think that's actually one of the jobs to be done. Metrics, it's definitely part of Agile, product management. Like, what does success look like? Definitely, that's a great signal to ignore, or noise, that we don't want to focus on. This one came out after just a bit more thinking, and this is actually more tactical, a little bit more like in the weeds, in a very specific use case. But when I was getting ready for this, it was basically, like, you can add AI, but if you're just kind of using it off the shelf, this is now more like a personal tangent. If you're just using it off the shelf, just plugging into some LLM through the API and like not really making it your own, to me, like that's just wasted time and money. Like, unless all you're doing is what is it called, generative content, like just to do the same thing that like ChatGPT UI does, then you need to do something on top of it. So I really wanted to call out the feedback loop, right? Like that, this concept of the self-learning black box, where like if you haven't defined this, if you don't really understand what is happening behind the scenes that's going to make your product or your business better, and how you continue to make the tool better, which is the beauty of AI, right? If you can use it to make things better over time, then to me that's something like, that's a noise, right? That's now a signal to ignore, and maybe not quite ready for this overhyped maybe solution. Does that make sense? Because this one is a little bit more like granular, a little bit more tactical. Maybe I'm not explaining it well, but I think this one is super important.
So I see this as going back to that FSD example. One of the things they've done there is neural networks. and they are sort of self-learning through the experience of guinea pigs like me that kind of kept, avoiding running into stuff. But the bottom line is that sort of seems to have paid off in the long run. So is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Like you need to find a way to sort of make it your own, continue to improve. Like the feedback loop is exactly that. How to use the content or the learnings or the outputs, feed it back, continue improving. FSD is the perfect example. And kind of like just doubling down on that. Like I just fundamentally believe that like if you're just using an off-the-shelf tool and sort of plugging it into yours and not making it your own with tweaking, like more direct prompting, like something that you control, this universal one-size-fits-all concept to me in the AI hype is definitely hype. Like it's overhyped, it's unnecessary. Like I just feel like you're kind of lying to yourself and others if you just have like the off-the-shelf solutions that are now part of your product. Um, I might be maybe more opinionated than I should in this side of it, but I stand my ground.
Hey, could I, Arturo, I really
Yeah,
like this model. Could you go back just 1 second?
yeah, yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to add here. I think an ignore list is really useful. And I hadn't thought about this until now, but I realized when you were talking about it, I use one. I tend to filter out anytime I see the words AGI, like artificial general intelligence. Whether it's coming tomorrow or in 10 years or 30 years, it's like it's not something I'm working on. And even the definition of it is problematic, at least to me. And I'm like, if there's an article and says like AGI or this is AGI, I'm like, it doesn't really mean anything to me and is not super important to me right now. Also, like different models and the different types of models and their testing and all those kinds of things. I mean, from an engineering perspective, let's say I'm maybe notionally interested, but like from a useful tool, I'm not building a model and I'm not going to write my own model. I don't work at Google. I don't work in Amazon, at least right now. And I did in the past. And it's like, I'm not going to, all those articles and information about it, it's so much, but that creates a really nice filter. It's like, I'm not going to pay attention to that stuff because whether it's hype or not hype, it's actually not super useful in what I do every day.
100% well said. So kind of flipping it around now, right? That was a lot of like ignore, and this is now like leaning into it. And when I was thinking about this, there was a very clear distinction in my mind on like internal and external. I think it's for me, internal is maybe easier to adapt, right? Like just making our lives easier at work. And then external is obviously like the customer value that we create and the business value, et cetera. But I figured it would be good to split these up. And I just threw a couple of things out here. And I don't think we need to go through like all of them, but I just wanted to have more like concrete since everything before this has been very like abstract, very just sort of high level thinking. So I didn't put too much thought into some of these things, but to me, these are things that are measurable, right? Like these are the signals that you can easily identify. And that's what I think you need to start like, that's what you need to start kind of getting attracted to or like adapting to and saying, cool, if I start seeing some of these things, like that means that this is worth leaning into it. And maybe this isn't overhyped, right? Maybe it's actually worth my time, my company's time, my team's time, whatever. So a few on here, right? Like to me personally, like this is my favorite, unlocking new ways of thinking. I think a lot of times I get stuck in my own mind, like just thinking about it too much, and then I kind of like move on, and then I don't know if it's my ADD or what, but sometimes like it helps me think in different ways. So that's a big one for me. Other things like rapid prototyping, I'm sure a lot of us are doing that. If you haven't, definitely play with that because it's super fun, especially if you're in the product side of things. Um, Somebody mentioned customer success earlier, right? This is more on the, if we do add some AI components, like are we actually like bogging down our teams with additional work or is it helping them? Measurable ROI, I think that's super important. I've always I've been an entrepreneur first before I was like a product manager and product owner and in the agile world. So I'm always thinking about financials and essentially making sure that my product is profitable, improving MPI, revenue lift, etc. But then on the external side of things, again, very high level, but it's like doesn't make my customers' lives 10 times better than what I'm currently offering them, right? It doesn't have to be 10x, but that's been, the number that we always use. Like, is it just that much better that it's worth implementing it into whatever functionality or feature set? Other things that I thought would be interesting, like improved adoption, or super fast user buy-in, right? If you implement AI for whatever reason, but it's people are kind of hesitant, like change is tough. I know we always complain every time we have a new Apple update, and then we love it. But these are the signals that I was thinking about could be sort of that light bulb moment where you're like, yeah, okay, this is worth it. This isn't just overhyped. These are good signals that tell me we're headed in the right direction. Um, and maybe like expanding, just kind of moving on to the next one, also conscious of time. This one I wanted to throw in, I kind of threw it in here last minute, the like features and products, like they're not the same. Um, and another way that when I first thought about this slide, I was thinking like AI is not the feature, right? AI is not the product unless you're OpenAI and Gemini and the ones that have actually developed the technology. But for most of us, non super brilliant people that are creating all these next generation tools, um, AI itself is just a tool to do a feature, right? Like it's not the product. It's just how we accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish. It's how we provide the solution. But at the end of the day, AI is neither of these, and like your features and your products. Like, does that make sense? Because I wanted to at least take 30 seconds to cover that. Like AI is not what we're selling. I think Michelle, it might have been you earlier. What we're selling is the problem we're solving, right? Is the solution, is the pain um, that we're taking away from our customers by having maybe AI behind the scenes. Does that make sense? Anybody disagree?
I mean, I think of AI in these terms as it's essentially software, right? Most companies, yeah, there's a bunch of companies that only sell software, but most companies integrate software with their overall product. And so AI, you could think of it as that. It's part of the framework, the underlying framework for your solution, for your product. It's one of the tools, I guess. That's how I think about
For
it.
sure. Yeah, 100%. And even more tactical, right? Like putting the agile methodology into it from like a textbook point of view. If the sprint, it's about implementing AI or the architecture, like this isn't that, but we're not talking about, again, the user value, or what the output of that is. Um, then it makes no difference, right? Another thing that I have here in my notes is uh, not getting too bogged down to on like the AI components of it and like putting all your eggs in sort of one basket. Especially, this is now more from experience, um, using specific models and being too reliant on specific models. We've learned that models change, improvements come out. Sometimes they actually get worse. Um, they get sunsetted. So understanding how you're interacting with AI tools so that you can actually switch between them, right? Solutions, the underlying technology, whether that's understanding your prompt or just having a little bit more control over like how you interact with these. I think that's going to be super important if you guys haven't experienced that. If you switch from OpenAI to Gemini, like, is it going to be the same experience, right? And what if that happens tomorrow because OpenAI got rid of your API key, right? Like these are like real case scenarios, real business case scenarios. Yeah, James, what do you got?
I think one of the key issues is what does the advancement in AI unlock in terms of some significant technological advancement? For example, cars came about once they figured out the internal combustion engine. That was everything else, or lighter weight steam engines. There were a lot of competing things, but there was nothing about carriage building that was new. They've been building carriages for ages. What finally happened is they had a power plant that was small enough and had a good enough energy density and whatnot to do the job, and then all of a sudden cars appeared. Um, I think the question is, well, just what things that haven't been invented yet that are natural things to do once this removes whatever that constraint is, right? Now, I don't know what all those things are. That would be a good way to make a lot of money if you knew what they were. But I mean, I think if you're going to see farm equipment, you're going to see, when computer vision wasn't good enough, a lot of things couldn't be automated. If that's the last thing, then those things start to get automated.
100%.
Because the robots are there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's there. If the cost of labor goes high enough, things will get automated that weren't previously automated. But I don't know to what extent AI is solving, what various categories of, limiting. It's the key that unlocks the door to what's been waiting to be done.
So
For sure.
I was thinking about this, and sorry, I keep going back to FSD because it's simple, I suppose. But honestly, forever, I'm not a huge fan of driving long distances or whatever, and it's getting stuck in traffic. So my problem as an end user was basically, hey, I wish there was a way someone else would do the driving for me. That was my basic problem as a user. So when you think about what's the user problem you're trying to solve, that was the problem. The key thing there was doing it affordably. I could have done that if I had a driver back then or whatever now, right? I could have somebody else drive, but the solution was too expensive. What FSD brings to the table was that I can do it now affordably, and that changed the picture. So that's one way to think about problem versus feature versus product.
Yeah, well said. Now that I've sort of transitioned into, full-time investor, I try to think of this same FSD concept, or James, your sort of future thinking approach to this, which is, to me, I'm trying to make it more tomorrow, not so much like, in the far future. But I give you a good example. I was just chatting with this company that's doing using a lot of AI, different agents that they've sort of built from the ground up, using off-the-shelf technology, but they've made it their own, where the AI agents work together to make the manufacturing process of new items go from 8 months to about 8 weeks, right? So they're cutting it into a fraction of the time, by basically using technology to do all the little things that before took different companies, different skill sets, right? If you're doing manufacturing and you had to get a prototype from China, you have to send them a bunch of stuff. They make something very quickly for you. They ship it back across the world. You got to look at it. I don't really like this. This doesn't really work. Let's try it again. Now we can use technology to cut a lot of that, see a lot of things in 3D, or et cetera, et cetera. The concept, is super cool, but essentially they've combined like a bunch of different businesses into one workflow, using a lot of very tailored, very unique AI agents. And that's creating a lot of value because, trends, think about how quickly we now get tired of things that are popular and can move on to the next thing. Maybe that has an impact on waste, right? Think about clothing. Things come in and out of fashion very quickly. If you can sort of create quicker, prints quicker, et cetera, then the effect is just kind of, every time that I think about it, I like see more ways that it has like this impact on the world around us. And like, James, that kind of feels like what you're thinking about, right? It's like thinking about the future. Maybe it's not something that's created. Like the problem is more than just one. Like, I feel like I'm just rambling now, but anyways, I get excited about like all the different solutions and the different ways to think about it and like what the real value creation looks like.
Well, I think one of the questions is, where are there cases that the existing entrenched players are not going to eat your lunch? And that is probably heavily influenced by how dysfunctional how large and dysfunctional the existing entrenched players are, right? Sears came up as an example. There's no reason for Amazon to exist if Sears had decided to innovate sufficiently. There's no reason for Netflix to exist had Blockbuster not messed up, right? They would have owned it, but they didn't. So I suppose the opportunity for a startup is to, you don't have that. You have the nimbleness. You don't have the depth of reserves. But if it's something where the entrenched players have their act together, they should squash you like a bug. Blockbuster should have squashed Netflix like a bug. but they didn't.
Yeah. It's
So I had a thought there actually, and this is very generic, general comment, but if I'm in product management, if I'm a product manager, if I'm trying to figure out the value from an AI perspective, forget the hype stuff, right? But assuming some of the technology is possible and so on and so forth, then my mindset should be, hey, what is it that most people do, at least in your audience, whatever your audience might be, within your audience, what activity or activities do most people do most of the time? If you can automate that in any way, shape, or form, you've got a blockbuster product.
for sure.
That's what people are looking for, because
Um,
that's their problem.
yeah, I agree. The one that I'm like super fascinated by now, and we're seeing a lot more, is just search, especially inside of software. We've always had the little, um, whatever the magnifying glass, and then the thing comes up, and then you got to search it. Then you usually get a bunch of results. Like you can dig into it. Like think about like an ERP or any tool that you might use. Or if you want to do like some analysis and you got to like pull up some data and you got to pull up some reports. Like to your example, Vishal, I love the concept of like that would take me forever if I'm like, oh, I have a CRM and I need to know, customer A, when was the last time we talked to them? What are they currently feeling? Now that can be almost conversational, or I can just do a quick sort of prompt, right? Um, and I get an answer on the spot because I have the data, because I can sort of interact with it in a much easier way and just get like one answer instead of sort of the hierarchy of click, 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 consume, kind of analyze and create my own answer. So there's little things like that that I think are like magic. That's going to be the future. But conscious of time, I wanted to throw some like fictional examples, just like we have something that's like tangible in front of us, right? Where they're like, potentially real cases of actually using AI in companies. Um, and we'll just quickly go over it, which is like a good case to me, in my opinion, right? Um, would be maybe what you just mentioned, right? Automating customs documentation prep for high volume shipments. Like this is something that is vital to a shipping business. Like it's going to take a lot of time. It's probably very human. Even if you have computers involved, they're still probably prone for like human error, right? But the approach was, this company, Acme, has 50,000 past shipping records, so we can consume that information. We're not just relying on like the LLMs and like hallucinations or whatever it might be outside in the outside world. And the outcome was like 16% reduction in manual entry time, no support tickets. ROI from whatever it took us to build it was in 2 months. Very tangible. That's something like we see, we can measure. There's money attached to it. It just works, right? It was a narrow scope. It was exactly like one thing that it was meant to do. The baseline we knew, and like piloting and getting it out to users, like it's all very like doable, right? This wasn't like a 2-year project to try to accomplish this, etc. But on the flip side, still a very cool AI solution, where the use case is to predict staff morale from email tone, calendar data, et cetera, et cetera. The approach is to use the sentimental analysis on corporate communications with automated coach bot outreach. Like so far, this sounds pretty good, right? It's important to take care of our employees, of our colleagues. Burnout is bad for business. Like there's a lot of good that can come out of this. But then the outcome is like low engagement, 5% click-through rate, maybe legal flagged. Like if we just put a chat GPT on here and now we're getting into like people's personal lives and whatnot, and just go into that open AI cloud, et cetera. There's a lot on here that maybe wasn't thought about, that wasn't expected. Like, okay, how do we measure this on the other side? Like we talked about earlier. Is it, aligned with HR policies, opt-in flow, like, very specific, but again, who knows how difficult this was or how easy it was, but the use case or the idea feels pretty good. But then the approach of using AI to sort of accomplish this just maybe wasn't the best case. Bringing it back, closing it down, slowing it down just a little bit for our last 2 minutes. Wanted to just call it out as like staying sane, right? Working is hard. Ignore the noise. Focus, bringing it back to just agile and product and tech, like focus on retention, focus on the value, focus on your customers, not virality. It'll come and go. So I mean, it's all back to the fundamentals, ignoring it, focusing it, and not really focusing on that virality. So to wrap us up, I call this an agile kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, because it works. Useful is better than novel, right? Just because it's new doesn't mean that it's awesome or useful. Simple is better than smart, especially in the tech world. And real is always better than hype. And then the very last second, I added this because I love just the term North Star. Don't forget it. If you guys don't use the term North Star in your business and your teams, it's how you drive business forward, right? So everything comes back to that. It is customer value, but your North Star should be a tangible metric, something that you can count, see, point to. It goes up, it goes down. Don't forget that as part of all of this, and we'll probably be all right. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. It's been an awesome conversation. I do have my QR code there for LinkedIn if you want to connect. LinkedIn is super noisy, so if you send me a message and I don't reply for a week or so, I apologize and we'll get back to you. But Agile Austin, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
This was great. Thank you so much, Arturo. Very love the interactivity. Hopefully, the folks on the call also kind of found it useful. It was thought-provoking for sure. And it makes you kind of think differently, I guess, in terms of, hey, what's important and how do you kind of cut through the noise. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Arturo. Wonderful presentation. Thanks for taking the time as well to kind of come up with all these ideas and thoughts. So it really helps the group, kind of coalesce around ideas. Anyone have any other last questions for Arturo? Comments, questions before we wrap up?
No, I just wanted to say thank you also, and hope to hear more about ProductCamp also in the future. Okay.
Yeah, I would love to see more interaction between the ProductCamp and this
Yes.
SIG. It looks we're obviously all working around the same sort of ideas and topics. This would be great.
I have an
100%.
after hours topic if people are wanting to stay around. I'm just curious what people are doing to learn all the linear, doing all the heavy machine learning, lifting and learning.
All right, so I'm going to officially close this session. Anyone who wants to stick around, we can do another 10, 15 minutes with James. But thank you all for joining. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Arturo.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We can stop the